Hello, my friends. My name is Darren Gerdes, and here are three big stories. So I'm thinking about the Crocus attack, and I'm thinking something's not adding up. Putin's lethally negligent failure can't be covered up, says this story by Simon Tisdale. Last week's terrorist attack on the Crocus City concert hall near Moscow, which killed 137 people, is one of the bigger crises Putin has faced in his 25-year rule. There's no doubt that he bears ultimate responsibility for what was by any measure a catastrophic failure, and I think that's fair. It was a catastrophic failure. The Kremlin is estimated to have spent more than $1 billion, or actually it's saying here £1 billion, but still over $1 billion, £1 billion on information management, meaning lies and propaganda, to ensure Putin's recent presidential election victory. And yet, they can't seem to lie their way out of this one yet. Like you watch the headlines and you see things like this in RT. Moscow terror attack could be linked to Ukraine. Why are they talking about Ukraine? It's clearly not, but they're trying to use it that way. And I can't see if they're just blinded by their hatred of Ukraine or if they're actually trying to construct something to make it play to their interest. This atrocity may only link a whole series of attempts by those who have been fighting our country since 2014, using the neo-Nazi Kiev regime as their hand, Putin said, and the Nazis, as is well known, never hesitated to use the most dirty and inhumane means to achieve their goals. What? You invaded Ukraine? A question that needs answering is why the terrorists headed for Ukraine after carrying out the attack, Putin said, but they didn't head for Ukraine, they headed for Belarus. Who is waiting for them there? It is clear that those who support the Kiev regime do not want to be accomplices and sponsors of terrorism, but a lot of questions remain. Well, first, the question is, why do you keep pointing it at Ukraine when it doesn't appear to be that at all? So there are other things here. Like this guy here is the guy that owns the Crocus City Hall. He's here in this picture with Trump because they worked together for the Miss Universe pageant back in 2014 or 2013, I'm sorry. And so what's interesting here, Igor Shushko says this: as predicted, the FSB is going after Crocus City Hall owner Aris Agalarov criminally. He is now trying to negotiate his fate. Quote, fire and ventilation systems did not work, emergency exits and fire stairs were locked, and the alarm system turned out to be a decoration. Okay, well, it's interesting to see what they'll do if they go after him or if they do something else. Here's another Shushko. Pay attention to what happens to Chief FSB Moscow Directorate Dorofeev and Crocus's owner Aglarov, insinuating that if Dorofeev is removed and Agalarov gets criminal exposure for the terror attack, that's indicative of FSB headquarters deputy Korolov's complicity. I don't know if that will be or will not be, but I'm going to be paying close attention to who's being charged and who's not, because it certainly won't be Putin or Putin's loyal minions. They'll get off scot-free whether they're negligent or not. So while they're trying to blame Ukraine, I think it should also be known that they're also in RT talking about Biolabs operating in Ukraine still. Like to this day, they're still talking about this kind of thing. Here's just another example of this. Asked if the number of US Biolabs still stands at 30, the ambassador said, according to our data, yes. Okay, come on, really? Okay, let's switch gears from the Biolabs story and the Crocus story. AFU Navy doesn't rule out defeat of a third Russian ship in occupied Sevastopol. So what we know is that one ship was critically damaged. A second ship might have been damaged. A third ship, not a big ship, the Ivan Kurz, might have been hit, and we're just not sure. Okay, so this other landing ship, so again, we know about the Yamal, which was hit pretty hard, the Azov, which we don't know exactly what it is, but the Ivan Kurz is not a combat unit, but part of the auxiliary fleet of the Russian Black Sea Fleet, and it might have taken some kind of damage. We don't know. But nonetheless, Russia's Black Sea Fleet is functionally inactive. That doesn't mean that it can't do things, but it does mean that it's got a world of problems. Here's the ISW. The other Black Sea Fleet bases are structurally inferior to the one in Sevastopol. That's why they keep having to go back to Sevastopol, and the Russian forces must still perform some tasks, such as reloading caliber missile systems on ships and submarines in Sevastopol, as other bases lack the capacity to handle such missiles, so they can't just go elsewhere. So that puts himself kind of in harm's way when they actually are trying to perform these activities. Okay, last little bit. There's a clear understanding of who's behind this attack, says Vladimir Solyov. I don't think it's clear. I don't understand who it is. I don't think it's Ukraine, but at any rate. When Russia loses an A-50, now this isn't quoting him, but when Russia loses an A-50, Ukraine says that they did it. Russia said it was Russian air defense. When there's a terrorist attack, ISIS says they did it. Russia says it was Ukraine. Logic doesn't live here. And yeah, it doesn't. It's bizarre and it's hard to follow, but that's the three big stories for today. Thank you for your time. Thank you for the likes, the shares, the subscribes, and the coffees. And thank you for being the kind of person that cares about Ukraine.